joining us in reading through the Bible story in 30 days. Today's reading is Joshua 24, verses 1 through 33. If you have not read that passage, please pause the video now and read it. Well, how important is it that the next generation learn the history of the previous generation? How important is it that the parents teach that which came before to their children and grandchildren? And actually, it's an imperative that a nation understands its history. If it doesn't understand the history, then it will slowly become a nation of individuals, unwilling and unable to support the community of the nation. In addition, factions will appear that will attempt to rewrite and also marginalize certain aspects of the history to increase their own political well-being. Well, this is exactly what's happening in the United States today, and frankly in churches. Previous generations have whitewashed some of the more negative effects of our society, and now the pendulum is swung so that society wants to cleanse itself but does not have a root to make those decisions on. Israel could have had that problem. You'll remember that the generation that entered into the promised land had not been born in Egypt, rather than most of them had been born in the desert. Or they were so young when they left Egypt that they were not under that curse that God placed on them at Kadesh Barnea. So it was up to Joshua to remind this new generation that had fought and won so many battles that the new land, their history of that land, needed to have an understanding of who their allegiance was to. It's also interesting to note that Joshua made the statement that he and his family would follow God, the God that had led them out of Egypt, the God that had led them into the desert for 40 years, the God that led them to conquer the promised land after they had entered it. So we as Christians have two responsibilities. The first is to teach our children and grandchildren the story of the scriptures. We're not to whitewash the bad things, nor are we to overly praise the good things. We're to teach the scriptures as a fact. And through that teaching, our children will become knowledgeable and the relationship with Christ will grow. But secondly, we also have to teach our children our country's history. Our country was originally formed by men and women of God. And not all of their theology was good theology, but what they did get from the scripture was solid enough to base our country's law on that theology. Well, if we fail to teach history and our children refuse to learn history, we will be doomed by our history.